From dog tags to ownership, heroes take the lead. Stories of veterans building dreams with passion, drive, and speed. From service to success, we're here to inspire the quest. Dog tags to ownership, we're the best. Take the prize.
Welcome back to Dog Tags to Ownership, the show where we help veterans, military spouses, and the military-connected entrepreneurs turn their service into ownership.
Every week, we bring you conversations with founders, leaders, and innovators, proving the next mission begins after the uniform comes off.
This week, we're joined by Travis Partington, founder and host of Oscar Mike Radio. Travis has built a platform that amplifies the voices of veterans from across the country, sharing stories of resilience, purpose, entrepreneurship, and life after military service.
This conversation is about more than podcasting. It's about creating community, giving veterans a voice, and reminding people that everyone has a story worth telling.
Travis is a unicorn in the podcasting world. This week, on Thursday, 16 July, he will air his 500th episode. If you are like me and trying to figure out how long Travis has been podcasting, that is over 9.5 years. Congratulations, Travis, on reaching 500, and we wish you 500 more amazing episodes. And without further ado, let's get into the interview. Today, we are extremely excited to introduce our guest to the show, Travis Partington. Travis is a U.S. Marine veteran who served in the late 1990s before transition to civilian service. He is the founder and host of Oscar Mike Radio, On Mission Always. The show is dedicated to sharing authentic conversations from across the military community. Travis, welcome to the podcast, and thank you so much for joining us today to discuss your journey from dog tags to ownership. How are you?
Doing great. Great to be here. It's been like a minute, and I'm happy to get to talk with you.
Yeah, I'm super pumped to bring you on the show today to talk about your journey. You and I met, I guess it's been a few months now, down at Military Creator Con. We spent a lot of time together, got to know each other, and I just think that you're an amazing human and an amazing person, and I love everything that you're doing. But before we get into Oscar Mike Radio and all of the things that you have coming up and that you're building, can you first just tell us a little bit about yourself and your military service?
Sure. So my name is Travis Partington, lived all across the country in different areas of my life. In 1995, I joined the Marine Corps from Shreveport, Bossier, Louisiana. My parents had moved us there and, did real well in the ASVAB. And so it was like, hey, we got a smart Marine here. I'm like, okay, cool. What's this mean? And I go through boot camp in San Diego and all that. And it was a really proud moment when I became a U.S. Marine, I will say. And then I get to MCT. It was before the Crucible. And at the end of the Crucible, they announce your MOS school and billet. And they're like 7222 Hawk Missile Systems Operator. And everybody was like, what the heck is that? And I asked, his name was Captain Wolf. I remember this like clearly. I'm like, sir, what's a Hawk operator do? He's like, Marine, I don't know. But guess what? When you get to Hawk School, they will teach you everything about it. And so I spent 4 months at Fort Bliss in Texas, in El Paso, learning about the Hawk missile system. And it's essentially a missile as long as your car weighs 1,500 pounds, and we fired at airplanes and all kinds of stuff. And it was really cool. It's what I did. But there's a catch there. I get to Fort Bliss. Imagine this: you show up, you're in your little dress uniform. You call they had a little Army duty at the airport. So Fort Bliss is so big, they actually have like a duty NCOIC at the El Paso airport to direct traffic. It was really never seen that since. And she called the barracks. And my next guest for this week, as we're recording this, will tell you that they got me in the car and said, hey, our job's going away. And I'm like, no way. The Marine Corps wouldn't send you to a school for a job that's going away. And yeah, they did. 18 months later, we got the Almar saying Hawk had been retired. And what it was is the Army's Patriot system was taking over all the air defense work for the U.S. military. They didn't need multiple systems anymore. And so, yeah, for sure, promotions were frozen, and then I got hurt, and then I got out, and I moved to the Boston area to be with what I thought was my true love at the time, and started a family and did all that. So it was really interesting. And before I go on to the next part of it, it was about a year and a half ago, Raytheon, who made Hawk, looked me up on LinkedIn saying, hey, we got a job for you. in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And that's when I found out the Hawk was still being used in Ukraine and other parts of the world. So it was an interesting career. I liked the MOS. It was a very cool MOS. I liked target engagement. I liked building the missiles. Part of it was outside, working with your hands. Part of it was desk work and using your mind to understand radars and theory and all that kind of stuff. And so it was a very unique Marine Corps experience.
I was wondering, as you were talking about that, I was like, I didn't remember the Marines having air defense artillery. Like the whole time I was in, it's always been the Army. And so when you were telling that story and then you got to the part about going away, I was like, okay, that's when the Army took it over. And then we drew down air defense and now we're bringing it back up. When you got to Fort Bliss, did you still go through the school though?
Yes. Yes. We went through the school.
And then where did you get to your first unit? And then that's when you found out that it was going away. And how did that all come about?
Graduated Hawk School, went to Yuma, Arizona, where it was located at the Canton Air Defense Complex. Got assigned a battery, got assigned a platoon. We did our job. We did 4 shoots. We trained with the gear. We did our thing because it was a feeling like, hey, until they tell us that we're done, we're not done. And so we did all that. And it was, like I said, it was very cool. When you see the missile leave the launcher for the first time, I would have stayed in 20 years for that. If you see the videos of it, you hear this boom. Well, that's not the missile actually igniting. That's the missile breaking the sound barrier. That's how fast it goes. And there's just nothing like it. I mean, it's one thing, I was a 240 machine gunner. I worked at Mortar T. It's another matter entirely to pull out pictures of that thing working and then realizing you're flying this missile about 10 feet long at a target 20 to 40 miles away. And then we're expected to hit that thing. And so it just really, and another thing too is, and I think Tammy said this best in our talk, was it's a true team effort. From the little PFC up into the major, running the whole thing, everybody has a part. Everybody has to do their job. Everybody has to look out for each other because you know how it is. When you're in a high tempo exercise like that, and you're doing it not really for real, but even in training, like for real, the potential for injury, for things going wrong, and you realize you're training so hard. You're training every day, and you kind of like, oh God, why is the brass making us do this again? And they're sitting in their air-conditioned office. They don't have to do any of this stuff, right? I mean, that's what you guys do, right? You sit in your air-conditioned offices, and
that's what officers do. Just sit around, drink coffee, and do nothing. Yeah, I mean,
right. But then you're out there doing it. And it's like, okay, this is why we do it. This is why the standard is so high. You have to train that way in order to perform that way. And I don't know about you, Julie, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it in society that will get you on that level.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. And it takes, like you said, all the way down from the private, the PFC, up to the commander of the organization or the battery. So I think that's awesome that you were able to go to school for that. And even though the Marine Corps divested of that capability, is still pretty awesome that you got to train on that and do it. And then you said after that, you got out, you transitioned to the Boston area. How was that transition process for you coming out of the Marine Corps?
I told people this before, Julie. I think if I had really been honest with myself and other people around me, it was a lot harder than I thought it was. I didn't know anybody in the Boston area. I didn't have a job lined up. I didn't really know anything about New England at all. I didn't know what I was going to do, and I had to hit the ground running. And so there was a lot of apprehension, a lot of stress, what I'm going to do. And this is where I got my first taste of the veteran community in a positive way. And one of the reasons that for me, some of what we'll talk about is why I pay it forward. Abington had an old master sergeant. No, Colin was a sergeant major, command sergeant major. And I was told to go to him, and he looked at my DD-214, looked at everything. He said, you need to do this, this, and this, and report back to me. And we got a plan going. He's like, you're not going to be working, slinging burgers or doing this, this, and this. We can get you the kind of job that's going to really help you if you follow the process. We got some steps to do first, because like a lot of people, I thought, well, I worked on a very technical system that's made in Massachusetts. I'll waltz right in and get a job. But the civilian world demands pieces of paper that show you can actually pass muster, I guess. It was really weird being told that, hey, you're not good enough. And I was told, hey, you got to play the game. So I got hooked up with a computer school in the New England Shelter and Home for Veterans at the time, 6 months long, that taught you all about computers. And I'm like, why am I doing this? I know how to do this stuff. I mean, I did this stuff for free. Like, why am I having to go to school to do it? And, Master Sergeant Colantonio was like, just play the game. You need the piece of paper. Okay, we got the piece of paper, and then I got a job and then moved around a little bit. And then one day, this guy's telling me, hey, this naval submariner who I know is looking for a guy to do PC tech work. And I think you'd be a good fit. And he told me the company that it was with and what was, I'm like, there's no way. There's no freaking way this company's going to take a guy like me in my situation to work for him. But we met and we talked, and it wasn't the typical job interview, Julie. It was more like, hey, where'd you serve? How'd you serve? Why are you here? Why not stay out in the Arizona, California area, go back to Texas or Louisiana? What's going on? What's your approach to this? What's your approach to that? And then I handed my resume, and he says, hey, I want you to apply formally. I think I got a way to get you in. And come to find out, long story short, he had gone to his management and said, this is not a typical hire. This is not somebody who has all the boxes that we want to have checked, but he's done this, and this. And I think it'll benefit everybody if we help him out. And I never forgot that. I mean, somebody who didn't really know me, never really had interacted with me on a professional level or personal level, but just over my first interview was at a Japanese restaurant in Norwell, Massachusetts. And we talked for like 2 hours over Japanese tea and good food. And he told me about his submarine days. And he had a very interesting career where he had joined the Navy, then retired from IBM, and then came to where we were at that time. And so he had lived that experience. He knew what that was like. And that really showed me that, hey, if I wasn't a veteran, if I wasn't a Marine, I don't know if I would have gotten the same kind of treatment. And that really stuck with me.
Transitioning out of the Marine Corps, everything that you knew from the Marine Corps, and running into these veterans, having them assist you through that transition process and getting the piece of paper, how did that impact you in what you're doing now with Oscar Mike Radio and TV radio and TV stations that you're doing? Was that the catalyst that got you, as you mentioned at the beginning there, to pay it forward? Is that why you do all the things that you do for veterans right now?
That's part of it. When I started Oscar Mike Radio, I was going through a very hard and difficult, lonely time in my life. I felt really worthless and hopeless, and I had good reason to. And this was back in 2013, 2014. And you'll recall that was when all of a sudden the bells started going off, the alarms started going off that, hey, we have a problem. We have veterans killing themselves at a very high rate, even for the normal suicide rate at the time. And at that time, I was like, well, here I am in my situation. I know where the edge of that abyss is. I know how hopeless life can be, but I held on. And all I wanted to do with OMR was tell other veterans that, hey, you matter. I care that you're here, and other people care that you're here if they can hear your story. And I think a part of that now has become fueled by when I got it going that, hey, this can become a thing. And so to your point, to your initial point, yes, almost everything I do now and have been doing is because someone did it for me. And someone did it for me who didn't have to. Bob did not need to put his neck on the line for me at all. Joe Colantonio, God rest his soul, did not need to spend the time with me that he did. There have been a couple other veterans who have taken time out of their day to counsel, mentor, and just give an attaboy or a swift kick in the rear end when I needed it. And I'm like, if they didn't do it for me, I couldn't do it now. And that's really the motivation for what I do.
Yeah, and you had mentioned, you were going through a tough time when you started Oscar Mike Radio and everything that was going on in terms of the veteran community, even active duty community at that time. It was a pretty bleak time for a lot of people, rightfully so. GWAT just coming out of like the height of it, multiple deployments for folks, people starting to get out from the GWAT era, dealing with a lot of PTSD trauma issues. And so it's a very, very tough time. You starting Oscar Mike Radio, was that something that also helped you get out of that time as well? Was that a way for you to talk to other veterans, to talk to other folks, to really help your mental health as well when you started Oscar Mike Radio?
100%. I think you read it absolutely 100% correct. And not in the way that I thought initially. It wasn't until like year number 3 or 4 that I realized, hey, the aspect of my life where I had to prepare a show, either talk about a subject or then talk to somebody else, edit the show, put the show out there, got me in a routine where I'm not feeling sorry for myself. I'm actually doing something. Hey, can you come to X location and talk to these people? and then meeting other veterans where they were to tell their story when a lot of them felt like, who's going to care about my story? So all that got me in this thing where I'm not really focusing on what I don't have or what I can't do or poor me. What it allowed me to do is feel a sense of gratitude to be able to talk to these amazing veterans at various stages in their lives and what they're doing, and realizing that we truly are an amazing community. And that started really changing my whole outlook on life.
When you first started Oscar Mike Radio, what was the purpose behind it? And then how has it transformed now to your almost 500 episodes?
I'm still doing the core mission, which is meeting veterans where they are to tell their story. And the core part of that is, yeah, every podcaster wants 1 million downloads and sponsors and their name in lights and awards and stuff like that. I'm no different than anybody else, but where I've found the most success and the most gratitude for what I'm able to do is it's all focused on the number one. It's the one veteran in front of me. It's the one topic in front of me. And how can I tell their story in a way? And it's the one life that might be impacted by this work. I've had people come up to me who I don't know saying, hey, that was a really good show. I'm like, I don't know who you are. The really earth-shattering ones to me where I'm really just floored is when a family member will either email me or I'll see them in passing and they say, hey, you know what? I learned something about my dad, mom, relative that none of us knew that you got out of them. And that's when I realized that was a good one. That was good work. No one can take that away from the guest or me. And so what it's done now is I've learned how to listen. I've learned how to meet people where they are. You know, I'm not here to judge. I might call you out on some BS if you're trying to snow me over, but I'm here to give you a place where you can be yourself without being flamed or trolled or realize your words are going to be taken and twisted in a way you didn't want them to be. And so there's this reputation that I think that I've made where this conversation is not going to be a waste of your time and you're going to be able to help somebody else with what we're trying to do.
From the episodes I've listened of Oscar Mike Radio, I have learned something about other people from the way in which you interview them and you make people be okay with being vulnerable on your show. Is that a natural thing for you when you started the podcast and Oscar Mike Radio?
That's an interesting question. So all I can say is my first part-time job was 98 Rocks in Shreveport, Louisiana, making phone calls to country fans about why they didn't listen to rock and roll. So there was that. And then the only other radio experience I had was I would guest host from time to time for WVBF AM 1530 in Taunton, Massachusetts. So no, if you listen to the first 30, 40 of my podcast, they are terrible. And I know they're out there forever, but I think it was number 117. I was talking to a contractor, Army National Guard veteran who was a home contractor. He would build houses, do other things. And we met at a Dunkin' Donuts, and I got my Zoom H6 out and my mics and stuff because I believe to be mobile. And I'm talking to him and we get done. I'm like, hey man, what'd you think? And he's like, I'm going to tell you honestly, Travis, it was kind of weird being in a Dunkin' Donuts doing this, but you know what? I had a good time. It wasn't that bad. I really liked talking to you. He's like, I don't know anything about this podcasting stuff. I got to tell you honestly, but he's like, you know what? If you add value to whoever you're talking to, I think you got something here. And that stuck with me because here's a business owner who's taking time out of his day where he'd rather be home. You know, he's worked a 12, 14-hour day, but told me that. And I think that's where it's like, okay, it's not about me. It's about trying to find what the person's value is or what they value and get out of them. And in order to do that, they have to trust you and they have to believe that you care about them. And I like to believe that I really do care. And then the last thing is I really try, this is something I had to work at, is I really try to listen to what you're saying and then respond accordingly. So I wasn't trained for this. I've never been to broadcast school. I've never been to a media school, but I have learned to listen, care, and then give people the space to be themselves.
Yeah, and you do that probably better than anybody I have seen on any podcast. The way in which you are able to, I say, listen to understand instead of listen to respond. You definitely listen to understand what your guest is saying and then respond or ask other questions to get them to open up more on your podcast. But I also know that Oscar Mike Radio is not all that you do. I know that there are other things that you do, and one is you help host a TV show in Abington. So can you talk a little bit about that and how you got into TV and radio and doing those things as well in Abington and the New England area?
Sure, absolutely. Every town and city in Massachusetts has a veteran service officer. It's one of the weird things that Massachusetts, not weird in a good way, but compared to other states, most states do their stuff at the county level or regional municipal level. Massachusetts says every town or municipality will have a veteran service officer to administer the Massachusetts Chapter 115 benefits and other benefits for veterans. It's your liaison to what the state and by extension federal government can do for you. In this case, Adam Gunn, a retired Naval Chief Petty Officer, was like, hey, I want to do a TV show, but I'm not really comfortable being on TV. Adam's a great guy. He's a very articulate, well-spoken man, but he's like a lot of people. They don't like being on camera. And he asked me to do this. And I'm like, well, I already brought rocks in my rucksack. I don't know about this. And I started looking at it because he's like, I want to provide this for people in Abington who can't get out to meetings or the Legion or other things. And so I started looking at it and I'm like, okay, well, I kind of did this with Oscar Mike Radio. We're doing it in a little different way, but let's figure it out. And so I started planning a show based on being able to tell people about things going on in the town of Abington. So it was a process. Even though this is volunteer, I had to swear in front of the Board of Selectmen that I was a representative of the town. And it's really kind of a different, right? I'm doing this TV show as me. I'm not getting paid for it, but I am by extension part of the town of Abington. It's really a cool aspect. It came up with Abington Veterans Muster because muster goes back to the Civil War in Abington. Abington's distinction was during the Civil War, they were the first town in Massachusetts to muster for the Civil War. Muster is command, but also kind of a noun at the same time. It's a really interesting word. I want the squadron to muster. Well, that's a command. But hey, we're going to muster in formation. We're coming together. It's two very different interpretations of the same word. I did that as a call to action in the title, and I started talking to people. And the cool thing about doing the TV show versus doing the podcast is, as you're experiencing right now, as you're doing the podcast, Julie, is you're having to watch many different variables at the same time. And yeah, make sure the dogs, the kids stays quiet. While you're doing this, watch the network traffic, watch this, watch that. Whereas with a TV show, there's a whole crew that kind of sets up the cameras for you. And then they get it going and they manage all of that. I can just focus on doing the TV show. So while it was less control than I had over the exact process, I was really able to connect with people that I talked with because Adam is saying, hey, we only want to do this for 30 minutes. We got to pack everything in 30 minutes. So I had to be really efficient. And it actually made me a better podcaster because I had to be able to be efficient. And these are people, a lot of them older veterans who have never been on TV before, don't understand certain things about media production, and who will go off on tangents and talk. You got to bring them back in. Or I get the veteran who, he's the cub, he's the life of the party, he's a jokester, and he gets on the TV camera and it's like, hey, Bob, how you doing? Oh, I'm fine. Well, how's it like coming home from Vietnam? It was great. You talked about holding your daughter for the first time after your military service. Can you describe how you felt when she was a beautiful girl? Okay, we got to get some life in there. And doing that in that time frame, that format, helped me become better at what I did overall. But also, it's the wildest thing. Like, you really don't know who's watching what you're doing at any given time. We had a gentleman from Louisiana catch the show on YouTube and reach out for help with a VA claim. And Adam was able to get with the people in Louisiana to help this guy out. And I'll be at the grocery store, I'll be at the American Legion, I'll be somewhere in Abington, and someone will come up to me, I watched your show with that person. I really liked it. I can't wait for the next one to come out. You know, who are you talking to next? And these are people that, again, a lot of them can't get out and do community events. A lot of them can't march in parades. A lot of them can't do this and can't do that. And they're connected to the veteran experience because of the show. So in that aspect, it's really rewarding. Other things I will say is, because I've done Oscar Mike Radio, it's opened up doors to things like MC work, Master of Ceremonies work, voiceover projects, video projects that I've done, other things that people want me to do because I guess they like the sound of my voice and they just want to have more of it. And so these things have started building the building blocks of the next phase of what I'm trying to do with OMR and other parts of my life.
I would assume, I have never been to Abington. I've been to the Boston area, but I've not been to Abington. So now I'm going to have to make a trip and I'm just going to go around everywhere and ask if everyone knows Travis. And I'm going to say I'm a friend of yours because then I feel like you're the hometown celebrity now in the town with the show and interviewing everyone. Is that an accurate statement?
No. I've been told I'm celebrity, but I don't know.
But you brought it up. So what is the next thing on the list for Travis Partington moving forward?
There's two things, ma'am. Two things. We talked about one of them, but I'm gonna give you a bonus too right here.
I'm excited about the one that we already know about, but now I'm even more excited about the second one.
All right, so I'll tell you the first one. Like a couple of years ago, it's Mother's Day, right? And I go out and buy Mother's Day cards, and I'm one of those dudes. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing here. Maybe you can tell me because you're a woman. I get my sister's Mother's Day cards. Is that overdoing it a little much, or is that just right?
No, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
So I get my sister's Mother's Day cards, and I'm the favorite brother, I guess. But I'm filling them out and I look at the back of them, and I see that they're made in China, and they're $7.50 a card. $7.50 a card, and I got 5 sisters and a mom and a half mom, and I'm like, wait a minute. This is like $75 with postage, just in like what? And they're made in China? You need to tell me it was cheaper to freaking print them in China, put them on a container ship them here, dry them with UPS or whatever it is, than to make them here in America? And you charge $7.50 for a colored piece of paper with some writing on it? I got upset.
So I have to ask you, so Hallmark used to be an American-based company in Kansas City. So now I gotta look this up. Did they go out of business?
No, well, no. Hallmark is still Hallmark, but you gotta look at the back of the card. Some of them are made in the United States. Some of them are made in China. Some of them are made in Vietnam.
Okay.
But just because it says Hallmark on it does not mean it's 100% U.S. made.
Yep. Okay. That makes sense. All right.
And I've gotten some cards that are made right here in the United States and some cards that are made in China. I'm like, you know what? I can barely draw this. My penmanship is horrible. It's bad. I mean, you can barely read what I'm writing. I don't know anything about art. I don't know anything about color except for DaVinci Resolve and color grading. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to start my own card company and make my own freaking cards, and I'm going to sell them. And I don't know how it's going to work out, but if I just sell these things for $5 a piece, one. And my idea was I'll start with military bases first and then see what Walmart or CVS thinks. And so, Julia, I didn't know anything, but I had this picture of these puppies. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to make a Christmas puppy card. And they were all in a line. So I took a picture of puppies and I put some Christmas stuff around it and made it a red border and put some green writing with it. And my end was like, hey, get your cards from me. I made these. And if you buy $50 worth, I'll even send you a Christmas card when I deliver them. And it freaking worked. I made a profit my first time out. I didn't know much. I went to Staples Staples had a discount code to have them printed out. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to print out 500 of these, 35% off. And if I sell them for this much, which was about $5 a card, I'll make out. And I sold them in $10, $20, and $50 tranches. And sure enough, I mean, if you were one of those women who bought a $50 set of cards, I came to your house and saying, I wish you a Merry Christmas. I wish you a Merry, and they freaking loved it. And then I got hurt. It's a whole different podcast and a half that we could do, but I kind of got out of it. Well, now I'm getting it back going. I got myself a Wacom tablet. I'm learning how to use Inkscape. I can make vector graphics now. And so Travis is going to do this again. I'm going to make a series of Christmas cards and just do it all over again and see if lightning will strike twice. With the idea being is hey, if I do this long enough, then I could go to a PX and put them there.
And I think that is the key to entrepreneurship is just figure it out. It will work itself out at some point, some way.
So the second thing I'm doing is I do these voiceover projects for somebody. I read this gentleman's poem from the Netherlands that he wrote. And it wasn't a paid gig per se, but I'm doing more and more readings for people. I'm doing more and more MC work. And it's well, hey, how much is it going to cost you to come MC my event? What would it cost me to have you read my, story, my set of poems? There's a lot of people who do poems and want them read. How much would that cost? What would it cost to have you come and run my event? Or do you do weddings? And so it's things like that. That's wait a minute. Okay. It's when you have one person say it, and it's okay, yeah, right, whatever, your friends say it. But it's wait a minute. In the last 2 years, this has been asked more and more. And, the last big project I did was for a Polish artist. I did their video for them and it was received very, very well. And I'm like, huh. I'm going to start doing this kind of stuff under a production company and offer it as a, a la carte suite of services. Maybe you want me to do a wedding. Maybe you want me to do a read. Maybe you want me to show up and do, a vocal read or MC work for your event. This will all be like compensated work. It's really a different kind of project because you can't really touch what I'm doing. So for me, I'm trying to learn how to take what I do and say, hey, you know what, if I'm going to read you, a 5-minute read is going to cost you this much. I have the tools to do it. I think I have the experience to do it and the process to do it. It's just now I'm trying to learn how to get, for lack of a better term, Travis Inc. out there to say, hey, I'm here, I'm open for business. But that is like a thing. Like by the end of 2026, all that spin up work is going to be done. I'm really excited because I'm being forced to now, Julie, bet on myself and believe that I have something that people will want to pay money to receive.
I think that's so interesting that you're building that because of where you started with Oscar Mike Radio, how people have seen that when you were in this tough time of your life to today. Did you ever dream that you would be now setting up a production company to go do readings and do those types of things? Like is that like, how does that make you feel? Like thinking back to then to today and where you are?
You've asked a very insightful question because I don't know how to feel. Because part of me is like, when I started this, I just wanted to see if I could do it. And then I'm sitting here, it's June, we're in OMR terms at the time of this recording, we're 3 from 500. And then you start realizing that, hey, there's not that many people that have gotten where I've gotten. And then if you look at some of the experiences I've had because of the podcast with civilians and with military and other people for radio, TV, and other things, it's really a unique life. And so I think the distilled word is gratitude. Like I am very grateful that I still enjoy the creative process 10 years from now. I'm very grateful that I still have the humility to say, you know what, I don't know jack about that, but I'm going to get the Wacom tab. I'm going to get these big myths to figure out how to use the pen. And I find satisfaction in that. I'm very grateful that someone has the time to sit there and say, hey, your words brought comfort to me. So I think it's this huge sense of gratitude more than anything else. And then what can I do next? Like what's next out there? And I'm really excited about what the future can hold.
The word gratitude is probably one of the best ones I've heard from someone. You think about it's been 10 years for you, a decade, and probably going from where you were then to today and building the network and the connections, I would assume has really just uplifted you more and more in what you've done every single day. So I really appreciate you saying that. So I know we're getting to time. Before we get to our final 2 questions of every episode, is there anything that I did not ask you today that you would like to tell our listeners and followers?
Well, it was kind of like the bonus, but I made a promise to you, so I'm going to keep it. This could be a whole other podcast about a different thing, but about 5 years ago to the day, I ruptured my right quadricep tendon. It was an old Marine Corps injury that finally came due, and it was a very difficult time in my life, physically and mentally and emotionally, the whole 9 yards. Couldn't walk. Had to learn how to walk again, the whole 9 yards. And I've been emphatically encouraged to write about this experience, and I'm like, do we need another self-help recovery book out there? But I've been, again, emphatically encouraged by several people, Julie, that think that this is a fascinating story. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, I get why they're saying that. And I started writing about it, and I would get hung up because I remember how bad it was. How many times after PT, for example, I would sit in my truck in the VA parking lot, almost in tears because of just how bad the sessions were. And I knew it was for my own good, right? And then I'm at Military Creator Con and I meet, one of my friends. He's a Marine Corps veteran, Major Scott Houston. Who's like, well, you got a choice. You can just write it and deal with the pain. Or, I don't know, Travis, you're a podcaster. You ever thought about doing a podcast on it and then turn it into a book? Hallelujah. 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 So I am June 27th, 28th is when this happened 5 years ago. And I am going to do a new podcast called Travis's Three-Sided Coin. Because during my recovery process, I thought of the concept, and it's not new, but this is how I did it, is motivation and discipline. And the coin is forged out of belief. And motivation gets a very bad rap. You've got that one veteran who says motivation is nothing. You are nothing. Motivation is just useless. And he's not wrong, but I think motivation gets a bad rap. I was motivated to do the discipline. And so when the discipline got hard, I called on my motivation to get me through those hard times. And so I'm going to do a second podcast. It's going to be done differently than Oscar Mike Radio, but a lot of what I've learned from OMR is going to be applied to this podcast. And I would say the first, 30, 40 episodes going to be like for the book. But then the idea is to bring in people who are in, orthopedic medicine, surgeons, psychiatrists, everybody to talk about really the science behind belief, because I had a psychiatrist I met, asked me about this part of my life and why I was able to do this. And she's like, well, you trained your mind, or the Marine Corps gave you the tools to believe in yourself to do this. And there's actual science behind this. So the idea is to do this as not like a self-help or get well kind of podcast, but hey, there's some bad things that happen in life. Life is pretty hard. And, I've got some pretty funny stories about it. Like when the 75-year-old grandmas are lapping me on the track, and here I am trying to do a quarter mile and I think I'm going to die, share that, you can recover too, and share that and see if what I did with Oscar Mike Radio will work again.
Well, that is amazing. I'm excited for that to come out. I think that will be very impactful for many, not only veterans, but also just civilians who have gone through hard times and how to deal with injuries, athletes, and how to, like you said, motivation, discipline, right, to get to where they are going. That's exciting, Travis. I'm really pumped for you for that, and I can't wait to hear that first episode.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so our last of the two questions is there a book or a podcast that you have read, listened to, that has changed your perspective on life, or has been something that has really helped you in your journey?
This book right here, The Warrior's Book of Virtues, is by 3 veterans who I admire very much. And this was a real primer for how to get through adversity. And I have gone back to it several times since I got this book. They just did an amazing job with this. This was copyrighted 2019. So I read this book and it really changed my life. And then when it comes to a podcast, Lauren Burns, civilian, has a podcast called The Redeemed Podcast. And, if you understand who Lauren Burns is and what her story is and how she has, structured and done her life since, what she went through. She was, I don't know if you remember the story of the little girl who was taken from her family in Texas over to Jordan and then rescued by former, Delta operators. Well, that was her. And meeting her, reading her book, and listening to her podcast, it's just an amazing story. And whenever I'm like, man, life is just kicking my rear end today, I'll listen to one of her shows and my soul is fed.
2 great recommendations. So thank you. All right. So our last question of every episode, Admiral William McRaven authored the book, Make Your Bed, Little Things That Can Change Your Life and Maybe the World. So Travis, do you make your bed every day? But hold on, pause. I got to take a bet. Matt's not here. Usually we bet. I bet that you do, because you're a good Marine.
I don't make it every day. I cannot lie. I cannot lie. Every now and then I'll get motivated to do it, but that's only because it's like, well, I'm going to mess up again in 12 hours. But what I can say is, and I've read the book, where I took his book to heart was for the podcast, was for certain aspects of my career, was for my weightlifting. And what I mean by that is, no, I don't make my bed every day, ma'am. I don't. I'm just not going to lie to you. But it's the little things. Hey, Trav, you got to stretch this way so we can get your muscles ready to work, because we're trying to repair what's there. Hey, you know what? You need to go through the checklist of your equipment and your microphone position, everything like that, so the experience is good. Hey, you need to make sure that you interact with your staff this way so you can get the outcome you want. And the lesson I learned from the book is, everybody wants the big one-hit wonder thing that will change their life and just get them the money, the fame, the fortune, whatever. But to me, the message of the book is it's a bunch of little things done consistently over a sustained period of time that makes the most impact from you. And you can start with your bed. If you're wanting a place to start, it's your bed. And sometimes I do it when I'm motivated, and sometimes I don't.
That it is true though, but that is, the book is, the premise is to do the little things to make the big things happen. So it's okay that you don't make it every day. we are 50-50 on Marines on our show making their bed every day. So I'll just have to put that out there. I think I'm going to have to do like a poll and show everybody like what service makes their bed more now. Maybe at the end of this season, I'll do that for 2 seasons. But Travis, thank you so much for joining me tonight to talk about turning your dog tags into ownership. And I just want to hit one thing, you said there at the end is you use that book to help you do the little things with your podcast. And one thing I admire most about you is that you can really tell that in Oscar Mike Radio and every episode that you have, and the way that you do the little things to make your podcast the big thing. And just what you have accomplished from getting out of the Marines to today, and how you continue to drive forward and push to really turn your dog tags into ownership. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. And I can't wait for my greeting card, and I can't wait to hear more of Travis Partington's voice.
It's been great coming on with you, Julie. And I think I'm excited more than anything else is the fact that, here is another veteran who's going to, watch me grow, and then where needed help me along the way. And I'm truly, truly thankful, and awesome experience tonight. Thank you.
What a great conversation with Travis Partington. His passion for giving veterans a platform to share their stories is a reminder that service doesn't end when the uniform comes off. It evolves.
And speaking of veterans continuing to serve, it's time for our Forces Brands USA Business of the Week. This week's featured business is Blazing Starr Barbecue, founded by Air Force veteran Michael Starr.
Michael has taken the same discipline, commitment, and passion that served him in the Air Force and built one of the most respected barbecue businesses in his community. From award-worthy smoked meats to catering events that bring people together, Blazing Starr Barbecue is about much more than great food.
What really sets Michael apart is his heart for serving others. He continues to invest in his community, support local events, and give back whenever he can. That's what we love to celebrate here at Dog Tags the Ownership. Veterans who continue making an impact long after their military service ends.
That's the mission behind Forces Brands USA. We're building the only online marketplace dedicated to military, veteran-owned, and military-connected businesses because we believe where you spend your money matters. Every purchase supports entrepreneurs who have already served our country and are now creating jobs, strengthening communities, and continuing their mission through businesses.
If you're looking for an incredible barbecue for your next event, or if you're simply looking to support an outstanding veteran-owned business, be sure to check out Blazing Starr Barbecue. And while you're there, discover thousands of other amazing businesses on Forces Brands USA.
This isn't just about buying something. It's about building something. Every dollar you spend is a vote for the kind of America you want to support.
So here's our challenge to everyone listening. Don't just buy American.
Buy from those who defended America.
Join the hashtag Replace One Challenge. Replace one product,
one service,
or one podcast with a veteran-owned business.
If you enjoyed today's conversation, subscribe to Dog Tags Ownership, leave us a review, and share this episode with someone who is ready to build their next mission.
Until next time, keep serving,
keep building,
and keep turning your dog tags into ownership.
From dog tags to ownership, heroes take the lead. Stories of veterans building dreams with passion, drive, and speed. From service to success, we're here to inspire the quest. Dog tags to ownership.